I think that choosing the right tech as a student can in some ways make or break your experience. Here are some of the top items of tech that I find adds the most value to my life. Number 1 is having the right PC. As your laptop, desktop or tablet will probably be one of the most expensive and heavily used items you own, it makes sense to really spend some time thinking about exactly what you'll need. You can start by considering the following. Portability. If you're going to be on the move all day, only doing light browsing and note taking, maybe a tablet or lightweight laptop would work well for you. And alternatively, if you're going to be doing a lot of work sat down in your room, you're probably going to get a bit more bang for your buck if you go for a desktop computer instead. You've of course then got to consider the capability of the device that you're buying, and what feeds that really is the demands of the software that you'll be using. So for me, I use a lot of CAD softwares which are not only quite graphics intensive, but also require me to use a Windows operating system. So I run a desktop alongside my MacBook, which I actually find gives me the best of both worlds. Ideally, you would have a computer that could handle pretty much anything you could throw at it, but especially being a student, the budget is the thing that's likely to constrain that. So I think for most students, a medium spec laptop will be all that you'll need for web browsing, essay writing and note taking. Personally, I would recommend pairing this with an external monitor hub, which will allow you to get the benefits and comfort of a desktop setup, whilst still having the ability to quickly unplug your laptop and get on the move. Honestly, I could spend ages chatting about exactly what would be the right setup for you and your course. It probably does deserve a video of its own. Number 2 on my list would be an activity tracker. So it's likely that you're going to be spending significant amounts of time sitting down, studying at a desk. And I found in my first semester that this had a noticeable difference on my mental and physical health. When I bought an activity tracker, I was pretty shocked to find that I was only walking about 1,000 to 3,000 steps per day, as I could often take the campus bus everywhere I needed to go. So having an activity tracker definitely motivated me to get moving more throughout the day, and I found my health pretty quickly return back to normal once I started taking this more seriously. There are so many activity trackers available now, but honestly I think for most people just having a cheap pedometer or even just installing a step counting app on your phone is most of what you'll need. So I'd recommend trying these out first and then potentially progressing to more advanced trackers like a Garmin, a Whoop or an Apple Watch if you really want that extra data. So number 3 on the list is definitely got to be noise cancelling earphones or headphones. Ideally a pair that you can put on and sleep with. So when I was in shared accommodation, noise cancelling headphones were really unaffordable, especially for a student. But having these would have been an absolute game changer for me, allowing me to get more work done when I was in crowded spaces and more sleep when there were noisy parties in the flat above. I personally now use the AirPod Pro 2s and I'd say they're genuinely my favourite piece of tech that I own. Not only is the sound quality amazing, but the noise cancelling and the transparency features get constant use when I'm trying to concentrate or sleep in loud environments. Number 4 is an e-reader. So while physical books will always have a place in the world, I think for students especially, having that ability to quickly pack most of my belongings into a backpack and get on the move is really important. I also remember that my student accommodation was pretty tight for space, making it quite difficult to store books neatly. Having an e-reader back then would have been really great for keeping my library nice and light and compact and portable. So if I was out and about, I could essentially jump between hundreds of different textbooks without having to run back to my room to grab a physical copy. Just before we go on to the next one, if you got this far in the video, I'm assuming that you're probably interested in all things that will improve your life as a student. I'm actually growing a newsletter community at the moment which provides loads of useful tips and tricks about how to ace your entire life at university. It's currently free to join, so go and sign up in the top link in the description. Finally, at number 5 is a SAD lamp. This might seem like a really odd thing to add to a tech list, but hear me out. So, SAD lamps are usually used to treat seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, by providing an artificial light source to mimic the wavelength of daylight, helping to stave off depression and anxiety. While I didn't suffer too much with that, I found that having a SAD lamp had a few other benefits that I could use as well. So I used to really struggle with waking up in the winter when it was dark outside. So what I used to do was put my SAD lamp behind my curtains on a wall socket timer, and that would provide a pretty convincing daylight effect for me to wake up to. I would be a little bit careful about doing this though, because SAD lamps can get quite hot, and if you place that up against something like a curtain, it could become a fire hazard. One of the other benefits that I used to use this method for was keeping my circadian rhythm in check as well. So whilst other people's sleep schedules slowly drifted later and later into the winter, I could stick to waking up to the same time each day. I'd then also take it down from the windowsill and put it on my desk, and I found that if I was sat in front of the lamp on dark days, it would keep me alert and focused rather than drowsy and miserable like normal. These can get pretty expensive, but I think especially for countries like the UK where it gets really dark in the winter, they are an absolute must for everyone, not just students. There's plenty of other items that I could have mentioned on this list here, but as it is my first video on the channel, I thought I'd better not make the list too long. Anyway, I'd still be really interested to know what your favourite tech is, so leave me a list in the comments below. And if you're into things like student life, business and tech, then I definitely recommend becoming one of my first valued subscribers by clicking the subscribe button below. Anyway, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you very soon.